Hello, everyone. My name is Emily Dauscher, and I'm the Planning Liaison at McHenry County Division of Transportation. Joining me are Ryan Peterson, Transportation Planner, and Scott Hennings, Assistant Director of Transportation at the DOT. This presentation has been pre-recorded for viewing before, during, or after the live meeting, and it will walk you through some of the work done to date on the Ackman Road Feasibility Study. What you're seeing now is a video of Ackman Road and what it'll look like in 2050 if no changes are implemented. During this presentation, I'll start us off with some information about the study and the need for the project. Then Ryan will discuss the 3 segments of the project, as well as a couple of the different concepts for the roadway. Following that, Scott will talk about traffic operations and the information that was determined throughout the study. Finally, I'll end the presentation by talking about the project's next steps in the September 29th live meeting. As mentioned, this meeting is for a feasibility study on Ackman Road from Haligus Road to Randall Road. The purpose of the feasibility study is to look in depth at possible engineering solutions for the corridor. Since the first public open house meeting on May 30th last year, the DOT, along with its consultant, Transsystems, has been looking at the existing conditions to identify different alternatives that address 3 key project needs: safety, traffic operations, and connectivity. Once identified, those alternatives can be examined further during future project phases, including preliminary engineering, design engineering, land acquisition, and then construction. Identifying preferred alternatives also helps with identifying potential funding opportunities for the project. Let's review 3 key project needs that are being addressed by this feasibility study in a bit more detail. The first is safety. Along Ackman Road, there are undefined shoulders, areas with poor pavement condition, and poor drainage, as well as intersections with tight turning maneuvers. Off the roadway, sidewalks are narrow or non-existent, and the corridor lacks a defined space for cyclists. There are also unmarked crosswalks throughout the corridor, making it difficult for people on foot or bike to get across the road. The second need is traffic operations. Traffic operations refers to the movement of vehicles through an intersection. Key components of efficient traffic operation includes turn lanes, traffic controls, storage bays, and turning radii. One way to measure efficiencies in traffic operations is through measuring the level of service. Think of the level of service as how easily or comfortably a user can travel through a corridor or intersection. Level of service is measured from A to F, with A and B being the most favorable, C and D being moderate, and F being the least favorable. Throughout the corridor, a lack of turn lanes at intersection contributes to a poor level of service and negatively impacts traffic operations. The third and final need is connectivity. Throughout the corridor, the number of travel lanes and the width of the roadway varies. Some portions of Ackman Road have curbs, while others only have shoulders. For the pedestrian facilities, there are a mix of sidewalks and bike paths, primarily along the eastern half of the corridor. However, large gaps in the sidewalk and path network exist, and opportunities to cross Ackman Road are limited. The pedestrian facilities also have different widths and utilize different materials. Basically, there exists a lack of consistency both on and off the roadway along this corridor. Now I'll turn it over to Ryan to talk about the division of the segments of the roadway.
Thanks, Emily, for the great introduction. As Emily mentioned, I'm Ryan Peterson. I'm a transportation planner for the McHenry County DOT. I'm going to be talking about a variety of different topics relating to the Ackman Road project. The first topic I want to talk about is the division of segments for the Ackman Road project. So to make it easier for attendees to ask questions and for staff to provide more in-depth answers, we have divided the corridor into 3 segments. Segment 1 is from Haligus Road to Lakewood Road. Segment 2 is from Redtail Drive to Huntley Road and includes the intersection with Swanson Road. Segment 3 is from Golf Course Road to Randall Road and includes the Westport Ridge intersection. The project plans to address the identified needs on all 3 segments, but different treatments or strategies may be employed for each section depending on the traffic volumes, adjacent land uses, and/or existing conditions. We hope that this feasibility study will help us prioritize which segment has the greatest existing need and the most consensus from the public on solutions. We will then look to accelerate engineering on that segment first and address the remaining segments at a later date. We also hope this project will give us an idea of potential interim improvements that can be made immediately and at a low cost. Finally, this feasibility study will consider and be consistent with other long-term transportation projects in the area. For example, both alternatives for Segment 1 will plan for the future extension of Ackman Road west to Illinois 47. The extension project is included within the county's 2040 long-range transportation plan and is supported by the Village of Lake in the Hills. The 2050 projected traffic volumes you will see later in this presentation take this extension project into account. The second topic I want to talk about are the 2 different cross-section designs proposed by our consultants. The county is looking for input on 2 different cross-section designs, a rural design with shoulders and ditches, and an urban design with curb and gutter. A roadway cross-section displays the desired width, slope, and elevation of a roadway design. The major differences between the 2 proposed cross-sections is the placement of the multi-use path and the overall width. In areas with constrained right-of-way, the urban section is usually preferred. The rural cross-section allows the multi-use path to be placed further away from the roadway, while the urban cross-section brings the multi-use path much closer to the roadway. And the last topic I want to talk about are the existing bicycle and pedestrian facilities along the project. Currently, on the west end of the project, there's an 8-foot wide shared use path on the south side of Ackman Road, starting just east of Lakewood Road, that travels for approximately 0.3 miles before terminating in front of the residential area east of Albrecht Road. Continuing east, there are no existing bicycle or pedestrian facilities until Amberwood Drive. On the east portion of the project limits, there are a mixture of sidewalks and shared use paths. A sidewalk on the north side of Ackman Road runs from Sterling Meadows Park east through Golf Course Road and continues to Randall Road, where it connects to a shared use path that runs north to Crystal Lake South High School. At Sterling Meadows Park, the sidewalk connects to a shared use path that runs to the west and enters Willow Edge Park, where the path then turns north along Hunley Road. The new rapid flashing beacon crossing on Ackman Road at Amberwood Drive, just east of Hunley Road, is located along this path connecting to the shared use paths that run through Woods Creek Park and Fetster Park along the south side of Ackman Road. While many bicycle and pedestrian accommodations are present, the Ackman Road corridor does not have the desired connectivity considering the residential nature of the neighborhood and the proximity of a nearby high school and several grade schools. Not to mention there are 15 recreational spaces in the corridor, which are currently not accessible by walking or biking. By connecting these short segments of sidewalks and shared use paths, it will greatly improve the safety and accessibility for those wishing to access all of the amazing amenities offered throughout this corridor. And now I'll turn it over to Scott Headings, who will talk more about the project.
The need to improve traffic operations at the intersections along Ackman Road was frequently cited by many attendees at our May 30th, 2019 open house. Typically, roadway agencies improve traffic flow at intersections in one of 2 ways: by installing a traffic signal and associated turn lanes, or by constructing a roundabout. These 2 intersection designs provide several unique advantages, but also each have challenges that need to be considered. Traffic signals are the most common intersection type that most drivers experience on a daily basis. MCDOT has 42 intersections in its system with traffic signals, while IDOT and other local governments have many more on their systems. Traffic signals have the advantage of reducing intersection delay when compared with stop sign control. They also typically require less right-of-way than roundabouts, even when you factor in additional left and right turn lanes that may be needed. Finally, traffic signals can utilize emergency vehicle preemption, whereby emergency vehicles are given a green light as they approach the intersection. However, traffic signals also pose some challenges when compared with other intersection designs. For one, the potential for serious or even fatal collisions can actually increase at an intersection after a traffic signal is installed. Collisions that occur at signalized intersections tend to be more severe rear end and angle crashes with vehicles traveling at high rates of speed. Traffic signals can also result in higher wait times on minor legs of the intersection when compared against stop control or roundabout intersections. And finally, traffic signals carry with them a significant upfront cost of purchasing the signal equipment, as well as the long-term maintenance costs of replacing and powering the equipment. Roundabouts, on the other hand, are much safer than a stop or traffic signal controlled intersection. According to a study by the American Association of State Highway Transportation Officials, roundabouts reduce the types of crashes where people are seriously hurt or killed by 78% when compared with conventional stop-controlled and signalized intersections. They do this by reducing the number of conflict points from 32 down to 8, and by reducing the speeds of vehicles moving through the intersection. Roundabouts also reduce vehicle delay at the intersection, especially for minor legs that would typically see longer red lights with a conventional traffic signal. Finally, the lower and safer vehicle speeds in a roundabout encourages cyclists and pedestrians to utilize the intersections. A challenge with roundabout intersections include a higher potential for driver confusion. Even though the 8 new roundabouts are nearing construction in McHenry County, only 7 roundabouts currently exist in our area. This means that many of our residents have little experience navigating through these intersections. Roundabouts typically require more right-of-way and have a larger footprint within the proximity of the intersection when compared with a signalized intersection. However, as you move away from the intersection, the right-of-way requirements decrease dramatically since roundabouts require fewer turn lanes approaching the intersection. As Emily mentioned earlier, this feasibility study divided the Ackman Road corridor into 3 main segments. The first being from Haligus Road to Lakewood Road, the second from Redtail Drive to Huntley Road, and the third from Golf Course Road to Randall Road. For each segment, the study team looked at a few different options or alternatives and compared them against the existing conditions. The alternatives were scored against a set of criteria that considered safety, mobility, environmental impacts, and cost. So let's jump right into segment 1. Currently, the Haligus and Lakewood intersections are stop controlled. Option 1 looks at adding a traffic signal and turn lanes at Haligus Road, while leaving the Lakewood Road intersection with a stop control. Option 2, on the other hand, looked at the potential for roundabouts at both intersections. This slide shows an aerial view of the 2 intersections under option 1. You will notice that the map on the left shows Ackman Road extended west beyond Haligus Road, which is a future project identified in the county's long-range transportation plan. The Ackman-Lakewood intersection is shown to remain a 4-way stop because traffic signals were not warranted at this location in the future design year of 2050. This next slide shows option 2, which proposes roundabouts at both intersections. The medians and the center of the roundabouts are shown to be landscaped, and pedestrian crossings will be added to all 4 legs to connect the proposed sidewalks and trails. When comparing options 1 and 2 against the 2050 no-build conditions, which shows the intersections with no improvements, both options performed well in the mobility category, improving the overall level of service and delay at the intersections. The roundabout alternative performed better than the traffic signal alternative in the safety category, as well as the water quality and cost categories. Next, let's move on to segment 2, which encompasses the Redtail, Swanson, and Huntley Road intersections. Currently, vehicles approaching Ackman Road from the 3 north-south roads are required to stop and wait for an opening in traffic to make their turn onto Ackman Road. Option 1 maintains the free flow of traffic along Ackman Road and a stop control for the 3 minor streets, but adds turn lanes at the Redtail and Swanson intersections. This alternative would allow traffic to flow more smoothly along Ackman Road because turning traffic would not interfere with through traffic as it does today. Option 2 adds a traffic signal and turn lanes at all 3 intersections, while option 3 adds a roundabout at all 3 intersections. Note that the Huntley Road intersection is shown with a right turn bypass lane to handle the higher traffic volumes at this intersection. Options 4 and 5 consider realigning Swanson Road to intersect Ackman Road across from Red Tail Drive, creating a 4-leg intersection in place of 2 closely spaced T intersections. Option 4 utilizes traffic signals at both intersections, while option 5 shows roundabouts. Both of these realignment alternatives will require significant property acquisition to accommodate the new roadway. When comparing these 5 options against one another, it is easy to become overwhelmed by the amount of information. Looking at safety improvement only, the roundabout alternatives scored the best. Each option improves the overall level of service when compared against the no build in year 2050. However, it's important to understand that under all options, vehicle delay will increase when compared with the conditions today. Looking at the property acquisition criteria, options 1 and 2 scored the best. And when comparing cost, the roundabout options typically scored better than the traffic signal options. Finally, let's move on to segment 3, which looked at the area from Golf Course Road to Randall Road. Today, the intersection with Golf Course Road is signalized, but lacks turn lanes to separate through traffic with traffic making right turns. The intersection with Westport Ridge is a 2-way stop controlled, while the intersection with Randall Road is signalized and fully built out with all turn lanes. Generally, no improvements are being considered at the Randall Road intersection. Option 1 considers the addition of through lanes on Ackman Road, along with a northbound right turn lane on Golf Course Road and the signalization of Westport Ridge. Option 2 considers the installation of a multi-lane roundabout at the Golf Course intersection and the installation of a single-lane roundabout at Westport Ridge. Both options improve safety over the no build, but again, the roundabout is superior to the traffic signal for reducing serious and fatal crashes. Both options improve mobility for drivers over the existing conditions. However, the roundabout option performs better than the traffic signal option, especially for the critical movement during the peak hour. Due to the larger footprint of the multi-lane roundabout, the traffic signal option performs better on the potential displacement and property acquisition categories.
Once the feasibility study is concluded, the project will move into engineering to develop more details for the selected solutions. By the end of this study, DOT will have learned about the community interest in the project. This includes not just those who use the roadway or live near it, but also the municipalities along the corridor, which includes Lake in the Hills, Lakewood, and Crystal Lake. The chosen solutions that are carried forward from the study will be selected based on feedback from the community, municipalities, and users. The chosen solutions will also take into account the roadway itself and what improvements are needed based on modeling, traffic data, and other information. The identified solutions will open up the project for possible federal, state, or regional grants. Depending on what alternatives are chosen, different funding sources may be pursued. Some grants focus on bicycle and pedestrian improvements, some look at safety or congestion, and others are for creating safe routes for kids to walk or bike to school. The project's eligibility for these funding sources may be dependent on the types of improvements chosen. Once funding has been identified, the project will move forward into Phase 2 design engineering, acquiring any necessary land around the corridor, and then construction. This will happen over a number of years. There are a number of resources available on the project website, and I'm going to show you how to get there. First, go to mchenrycountydot.org. That will take you to the DOT homepage. Then on the left-hand side, click the Projects tab. Once there, scroll all the way down to the bottom and click on Ackman Road Feasibility Study. Clicking that will take you to the project page, where you can see resources such as an environmental screening memo, traffic operations report, the road safety report, and a summary of and resources from the first public meeting held on May 30th, 2019. There are opportunities to comment before, during, and after the public meeting on October 6th. Presently, on the project website, there is a comment form that can be filled out. Questions received prior to or during the meeting will be answered in the topic breakout sessions and during the open discussion and Q&A at 6:00 p.m. During the meeting, there will be opportunities for participants to send questions using the chat function, or if you are listening via phone, you can use the raise hand function by typing *9. After the meeting, please use the comment forms on the project website to provide additional feedback. All comments are due by October 23rd, 2020 to be included in the public record. For your comment to be included as part of the live meeting on October 6th, please have your comment in by October 4th. We will be posting a recording of the meeting on the project website. Thank you so much for your time and feedback. We really appreciate it.